The first thing Caleb Shaw heard was the crack of a rifle, close enough to split the night open like kindling. His eyes snapped wide, heart hammering against ribs still warm from sleep. The second thing he heard was her voice. "You bastard." He turned his head. A woman sat on the floor beside his cot, back pressed to the wall, knees drawn to her chest. Her dress was torn at the shoulder, blood streaked her temple, and her eyes, God, her eyes burned with a hatred so pure it could have stopped his heart cold. What? Caleb's voice came out hoarse. He tried to sit up, but his skull pounded like something had split it open from the inside. His hand went to his temple, came away sticky, red. "Don't you dare," she hissed. "Don't you dare pretend you don't remember." Another shot rang out, closer this time. Caleb flinched, instinct yanking him toward the window, but she was faster. She lunged forward and shoved him back with both hands, wild and desperate. "They're looking for you," she spat. "And if they find you alive, they'll hang you before sunrise." Caleb's mind clawed through fog. He didn't know where he was, didn't know how he'd gotten here. The last thing he remembered was riding into Silver Bend 2 days ago, alone like always, looking for work at the rail yard, a drink at the saloon, maybe 2. Then nothing. Now he was in a shack he didn't recognize, with a woman who looked at him like he'd murdered her family. He swallowed hard. "I don't know what you're talking about." Her laugh was sharp, broken. "Of course you don't. Men like you never do." She stood slowly, fists clenched, and for a moment Caleb thought she might strike him. Instead, she moved to the window and peered through a crack in the shutters. Her breath came fast and shallow. "They shot him in the street," she whispered, "right in front of the church. And you stood there with the gun still smoking in your hand." Caleb's stomach dropped. "No," he said. "No, I didn't. I wouldn't. His name was Daniel." Her voice cracked. "He was my brother." The world tilted. Caleb looked down at his hands. They were bruised, knuckles split. His holster sat on the floor beside the cot, gun still inside. He reached for it with trembling fingers, flipped open the cylinder. 2 rounds fired. His throat closed. Outside, voices rose in the dark, low, angry, hunting. "Matt ##. Why didn't you let them take me?" Caleb's voice was barely above a whisper. The woman, her name, what was her name, didn't answer at first. She just stood there by the window, silhouette sharp against the faint moonlight bleeding through the shutters. Her shoulders rose and fell like she was fighting something inside herself. "I don't know," she finally said, and for the first time her voice wavered. Caleb pushed himself upright, ignoring the nausea that rolled through him. His head throbbed where someone had hit him. He didn't remember pulling a trigger, didn't remember a man named Daniel, didn't remember any of this, but the gun didn't lie. "If I did what you say I did," he said slowly, "then why am I still breathing?" She turned to face him, and in the dim light he saw her more clearly now. Young, maybe 25, dark hair tangled around a face that might have been beautiful if it wasn't carved hollow by grief. Her hands shook. "Because when they dragged you into the street to finish you," she said, "you looked at me, and you didn't look like a killer. You looked lost." Caleb didn't know what to say to that. "So I told them you were already dead," she continued. "Told them I'd seen you fall. Told them to search the ridge while I stayed behind to make sure." Her jaw tightened. "They believed me. For now." A long silence stretched between them, heavy as iron. "What's your name?" Caleb asked. "Clara." "Clara." He tested it on his tongue. "I don't remember killing your brother. I don't even remember meeting him. But if I did." He stopped, swallowed. "Then you should have let them hang me." Her eyes flashed. "Don't you think I wanted to?" Another voice cut through the night, closer now, just beyond the tree line. "Clara, Clara Finch, you out here?" She froze. "That's Sheriff Maddox," she whispered. "He's been looking for me." Caleb stood slowly, swaying. "Then go, tell him where I am. End this." She stared at him for a long moment, something unreadable flickering across her face. Then she shook her head. "No." "Why not?" "Because I need to know the truth first." Her voice hardened. "And if you're lying to me, if you're the monster they say you are, I'll kill you myself." The shack door rattled. Someone was testing the latch. Matt hash hash. The latch clicked. Clara moved faster than Caleb thought possible. She grabbed his arm, yanked him toward the back corner of the shack where a narrow crawl space yawned open beneath rotted floorboards. No words, just a single sharp look. Get in. He didn't argue. Caleb dropped into the dark dirt and splinters scraping his palms. Above him, Clara shoved the board back into place just as the door creaked open. Clara, Sheriff Maddox's voice was low, careful like a man approaching a wounded animal. I'm here. Clara's voice came out steady, but Caleb could hear the tension coiled beneath it. You shouldn't be out here alone, Maddox said. Boots thudded across the floor, slow and deliberate. Not after what happened. I needed space. Space. A pause. Your brother's dead, girl, and the man who killed him is still breathing somewhere in these woods. Caleb held his breath. The crawl space smelled of rot and old smoke. Through a crack in the boards he could see Maddox's boots, dusty, worn, stopping just inches from where Clara stood. We'll find him, Maddox continued. Couple of the boys are checking the ridge now. Found tracks heading east. Good, Clara said. I hope they got him. The sheriff was quiet for a moment. Then you saw it happen, didn't you? I told you what I saw. Tell me again. Caleb's pulse hammered in his ears. Above him, Clara didn't move. Daniel was walking out of the church, she said, voice flat. That drifter, Shaw, he called out to him. Daniel turned. Shaw drew, shot him twice, once in the chest, once in the head. Caleb's stomach twisted. That's not true. That can't be true. And you're sure it was Shaw? Maddox pressed. I'm sure. Another long silence. Then Maddox sighed. All right, you stay close to town tonight. Don't go wandering. There's talk spreading. Some folks think Shaw didn't act alone. Think maybe someone paid him. Clara's shadow shifted. Paid him? For what? Your brother made enemies, Clara. You know that. Daniel wasn't. Daniel was a good man. Maddox interrupted, voice softening. But good men still step on toes. I'm just saying, be careful who you trust. The boots turned, walked toward the door. Sheriff. Maddox stopped. When you find Shaw, Clara said quietly, don't bring him back alive. A pause. Then yes, ma'am. The door closed. Silence fell like a guillotine blade. Clara didn't move for a long time. Neither did Caleb. Finally she lifted the board. Get out, she whispered. Caleb pulled himself up, dirt clinging to his shirt. His hands were shaking. Why did you lie? He asked. Clara stared at him, eyes hollow. Because Sheriff Maddox, she said slowly, is the man I saw standing behind you when you pulled the trigger. Matt hash hash. The words hung in the air like smoke. Caleb's mind reeled. What? I saw him, Clara repeated, voice barely above a whisper. In the alley behind you, watching. And when you fired he didn't move. He just watched Daniel fall. Caleb sank onto the cot, head in his hands. His skull still throbbed. His memories were a shattered mirror, pieces missing, edges sharp. Then why didn't you say something? He asked. Why protect me if you think I killed him? Clara crossed to the far corner of the shack and crouched beside a loose board. She pried it up and pulled out a small leather satchel. From it she withdrew a folded piece of paper, edges worn soft from handling. Because of this, she handed it to him. Caleb unfolded it carefully. The handwriting was careful, deliberate. Clara, if you're reading this, I'm already gone. Maddox has been taking money from the railroad. I have proof. He knows. If anything happens to me, trust no one in town. Find Caleb Shaw. He's the only one who doesn't owe Maddox a damn thing. Daniel. Caleb read it twice, then a third time. When did he give you this? He asked. 2 days ago. Clara's voice cracked. The same day you rode into Silver Bend. The pieces began to shift slowly, painfully. Caleb closed his eyes and tried to remember. The saloon, a drink, a man sitting beside him, dark hair, kind eyes, asking if he was looking for work. Daniel, he bought me a whiskey, Caleb said slowly, told me there was a job at the rail yard if I was interested, said to meet him at the church the next morning. Clara nodded. He was going to ask for your help. show you the ledgers. Maddox must have known, so he set me up. Caleb's voice went cold. Put something in my drink. Made sure I'd be there, gun in hand with no memory of why, and made sure everyone saw you do it. Clara finished, including me. Silence settled between them, heavy with the weight of stolen time. Caleb looked at her, really looked, and saw the fracture lines grief had carved into her. She'd lost her brother, and instead of revenge, she'd chosen truth. Why didn't you just kill me? He asked quietly. Clara met his eyes. Because Daniel believed in you, she said, and I owe him that much. Outside, the voices were growing distant. The search was moving east, away from the shack, but dawn wasn't far off, and when the sun rose, Maddox would know he'd been lied to. Caleb stood. His body ached, his head still swam, but his hands were steady now. Then let's finish what your brother started. Matt #. They found the ledgers in the church cellar, tucked behind loose stones where Daniel had hidden them. Pages upon pages of payments, dates, names, proof that Sheriff Maddox had been bleeding the railroad dry for years, pocketing money meant for workers, for families, for the town itself. But proof alone wouldn't be enough, not with Maddox holding the badge and the guns. So Caleb and Clara made a plan. At dawn, Clara walked into the sheriff's office alone. She told Maddox she'd found Shaw's body near the creek, said he must have bled out in the night. She led him east into the hills, where the morning fog still clung thick to the ground, and when Maddox knelt to examine the empty grave they'd dug, Caleb stepped out from behind the trees, rifle leveled. Stand up, slow, Caleb said. Maddox froze, then slowly he rose, hands lifting. His face was calm, too calm. You should have stayed dead, Shaw. I should have, Caleb agreed, but your plan had a hole in it. You didn't count on Clara. Maddox's eyes flicked to her. You're making a mistake, girl. No, Clara said quietly. I already made one. I trusted you. She held up the ledgers. Maddox's jaw tightened. For a moment Caleb thought he might reach for his gun, but then voices rose from the ridge. Townspeople, drawn by the commotion, and Maddox knew he was done. 2 weeks later, Caleb Shaw stood at the edge of Silver Bend, saddlebags packed, horse ready. Maddox was in a territorial prison awaiting trial. The railroad had sent investigators. The town was still reeling, still piecing itself back together. Clara walked up beside him, arms folded against the morning chill. You don't have to leave, she said. I do, Caleb replied. This town doesn't need a reminder of what happened, and I need to figure out who I am when I'm not running. She nodded slowly, then reached into her coat and pulled out a small photograph. Daniel, young and smiling, standing beside a younger Clara. He would have liked you, she said. Caleb took the photograph carefully, tucked it into his shirt pocket. I'm sorry I didn't save him. You saved his truth, Clara said. That's enough. Caleb mounted his horse. The sun was rising, painting the desert gold and red. He looked back at Clara one last time. This woman who'd chosen mercy over vengeance, truth over grief. If you ever need me, he said, you know where to find me. She smiled, faint but real. Go on, cowboy. Caleb tipped his hat. Then he turned his horse east, toward the open land, toward whatever came next. And as the dust settled behind him, Clara stood alone in the road. Daniel's memory held close, the town waking slowly around her, scarred but finally free. Years later, she would remember that morning, the way the light caught the rider's silhouette, the way he'd looked back once, just once, before disappearing into the hills, and she would think, some debts can never be repaid, but some stories are worth believing in. The photograph stayed pinned above her fireplace for the rest of her life, and the town of Silver Bend never forgot the name Caleb Shaw.